right, everybody. So we're going to do things a little different for today. We're celebrating right now for our 3,000 downloads. And as you're hearing this, we are crossing 3,500 downloads, soon to be 36. So we just like to take this time right now to thank all of you for allowing us to A, get this far, and B, acquire these new digs that we got. So if you notice how we're being a little bit more clear and crisp, it's all because of your contributions to having us get newer, better gear. And we're able to actually do our first ever in-person recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually all looking at each other in real time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Instead
not
of-
over a Zoom call with a 30-second delay.
Right?
Right, with a 30-second delay and then me cutting out
Yeah.
from you guys for at least 30 seconds and you having to guess what I was talking about whenever I stopped talking.
Yeah, I will say that was one of the biggest complications is trying to make that flow because there was more than a few times when me and are sitting there like we just would both look at the camera and go, oh, it happened again.
Right.
And because would like leave off mid-sentence and then would come back in and luckily still be talking about the same subject. He didn't like jump to something totally different. So I was basically just able to cut all that in between time and it flowed pretty good. But
Right.
Yeah, thank God I didn't go from landing gears to Benihana's, you know what I mean?
Right.
yeah, no
He was
kidding.
like, Lenny was like, yeah, by the way, pizza. Yeah. Wait a minute. Where did we get it? How did we get
How
here?
did we go from A to Z? What?
It's like a kung fu movie. Like, where the hell did the ninjas come from?
or like the original Power Rangers.
Right.
Why is the space alien coming down? I don't understand. Where did the Tiger King come from?
Whatever, go Power Rangers.
2020 all over again.
Right? That's kind of like how I feel this year. Like a lot of just random stuff that normally would never happen in any type of common reality. And it's just like, poof, there it is.
And one of those things is this podcast. So, I mean, you got to be thankful for some of it at least.
That is very
I mean,
true.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. When Six approached me on the idea of it, I think it was June.
Yeah. I think it was back in June.
I think it was-
Maybe a little early. Yeah.
It wasn't earlier than that. I believe it was June time frame.
Yeah. You're right.
And then it was like a month later and we're like, okay, well, we got the original mics, that we were using. Okay, well, let's set up and, record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the last week of July or second to last week of July, we did our first recording.
Something like
I mean, it's not
something like that.
When you think about the time frame of it, it's not even been 6 months that this has been going
No.
from the original setup or at least the initial concept to the initial mic setup or recording setup over Zoom calls and sitting in our own closets.
Oh yeah.
To
to that long group chat that we got going. I mean, some of the off the record stuff. I mean, just talking about branding, talking about logos, talking about all of this
man,
stuff. I mean,
yeah.
there was so much leading up to it.
I guess I was just going off of the initial recording setup to using the new mics.
Yeah,
But that's not including all the social media, all the brands getting designs done and made patented,
yeah,
Yeah.
patenting our logo
yeah,
to our first sponsor.
Yeah.
which we are just about to announce. I mean, we have our first sponsorship as of last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those of you may not know, we've been posting a little bit more actively with our first sponsor, that being Rockwell Time or Rockwell Watches. These guys make like sporty, outdoorsy, and also a little bit of fancy watches, some sunglasses, some safety rated sunglasses at that, and some snowboarding goggles for all of you people.
I just saw the snowboarding goggles the other day for the first time. Like I was perusing the website a little bit, but I was looking mostly at watches. And you can get anything from a fancy timepiece like your grandfather would have worn back in, post World War II. I mean, that kind of elegant design to a sporty watch to anything really. I mean, whatever your lifestyle is, there's a watch for it, and you can customize them, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Saw the one where they can put the American flag in the face of it. That's
Yep.
kind of cool. Or even on the band. But then I saw the snowboarding goggles and I was like, well, I don't snowboard, but
Now I have
those
a
are-
reason.
those are pretty dope.
Those are pretty good reasons.
Yeah, that's pretty
a pretty
dope.
good reason. What I like too about it is they have certain outdoorsy watches for certain lifestyles, like say for nurses, doctors, EMTs, police officers, firefighters, even the military. I'm like, I wish I had enough money and I buy some for a whole bunch of people who I personally would like to give the gift of support. But yeah.
No, that's awesome. I'm super excited about it. I think that it will hopefully lead obviously to more and more stuff and hopefully more discounts we can give you guys. And speaking of which, you can use our code, which is
So our code is CX4, the number 4 MX. And you use that on your purchases, you save 20% off.
yeah, and 20% is a pretty good discount.
That's
I mean,
a pretty decent
That's a pretty
discount,
huge
yeah.
discount, you know?
Right, I mean, right off the bat too,
yeah.
and it probably only gets better the more you guys buy.
Yeah.
exactly.
No kidding. So like say the more you guys use our code or at least mention our names in the purchase, then that gives us more leeway to give you guys bigger discounts, you know. And I'm not sure how high we can take it, but I'm pretty sure it'll be a little bit higher or more higher than 20%.
And even if not, I mean, the better we do with our first sponsor, the more sponsors come on, and the more stuff we can bring into our network, and the more stuff that at a discounted rate or maybe even a free rate you guys can get.
Right?
Yeah, build it all up slowly but surely. But I
Exactly.
mean, from the time, like I said, from the time of inception to where it's at now is it's pretty impressive.
Pretty short. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I remember when we were getting excited, like, oh, we got 5 downloads today. Oh my God, this is so awesome. And now we're like, we clear 80 all the time.
Yeah.
And it's such a short time. You know, we hit our highest, I think we hit one day so far is 180. So hopefully we can look back on this
I
when
mean,
this gets released and we can go,
was it the second or third episode? I think we hit 110
oh yeah,
on the
we
first day.
lost
And we're
our
like,
minds.
yo,
Yeah.
wow, people do listen.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
remember we were just so stoked when we hit 50 and like,
Yeah.
we hit 50 downloads. Hell yeah, everybody. Woo,
I know. Now
party.
we're going. By the end of the week, we should clear 4.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
remember getting to that
4,000 that is, you know.
first 100th download, like overall, just the 100th download. We were like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then I think it was like a week or two later, we were at 1,000. Like it was like crazy fast,
Yeah.
you know?
And I remember when we recorded the 1,000 downloads for you guys on Patreon,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we released that to you, we cleared like 1,300.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
So,
quick.
so we were like, okay, let's start planning for 2,000. And then we hit that really fast. Like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
let's make it 2,500. Then we hit that really fast.
So now we have to, we just had to call it at 3,000 because
Yeah,
we
it's like-
have to do a 5,000. So we have to do something in between.
Yeah. Plus, you know, we love you 3,000.
Exactly.
That's right.
For all those Marvel fans out there,
Yeah, yeah.
I know we're huge Marvel fans. So
I was thinking of what's the movie Bernie Mac? Was it Mr.
Mr. 3,000.
Mr. 3000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a funny.
That was a good movie, man. And I kind of feel that's how we were, you know, like we get it, we're chasing it, we finally get it, and then we celebrate, and then
Yeah.
It's making it happen.
Yeah,
it
man.
is. And a lot of it's thanks to you guys as well. I mean,
Yeah.
without a doubt, we couldn't express just how grateful we are to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all the sharing, talking about it with your coworkers, with your friends.
The questions you sent us in.
Yeah, those have been pretty funny and
Yeah, the
comical.
stories.
The
Oh, yeah, the
stories have
stories were
been great and disgusting, but
Oh my God.
but mostly great.
right. Right. Like the ripping a line of fuel to go home, man.
Oh, man.
Or to settle $100 debt. I mean, I probably could have think of something a lot easier than
Yeah.
snorting a line of piss.
I
But
think
do what you got to do, right?
I think for me, I would have just worked the full shift.
Right.
Like, well, my day is already ruined, so might as well not be gross at the same time.
Right?
It's like, I'm here already. Screw it.
How
Yeah.
do you?
There's not enough saline rinses in the world to make that okay. Like
No.
Oh.
No.
And even if there were, you can't scrub your conscience, man. Like,
no, you know you did
can't,
it.
You can't scrub your soul.
Like, you can't unsnort this line.
No.
Especially everybody who watched you do it. Because even if you tried to block it out of your
Just
memory,
that guy.
you're like, oh man, I'm having a good day today. You could wake up, right? Having the best day ever. Birds are singing, you know. It's like Snow White, right? Birds are singing. They come in and make your bed for you and everything. And then you go downstairs like, today is going to be a great day. Hey, aren't you the guy that ripped a line of piss? I hate myself.
It's like that, like Phil from Hercules. Like, hey, aren't you the goat man who trained Achilles? Like, ooh. It's like, how many some years later they still remember that?
That's so funny.
Nobody remembers. Well, it's like you said, nobody remembers the 1,000 good things you did. But that one time
That
you
one
mess
time.
up, man, that haunts you forever.
Mm.
I think we've all got some of those too.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of stories and questions and stuff that we've received, Six, have we gotten any more?
Oh yeah.
Yep. And this is the time that we edit this out. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Yeah, because my phone is the one that fooks everything up.
Well, that's all right. I know the one thing, it's been pretty to build this the way it's been. Shoreline doing his audio magic has been a godsend, because if it was left up to me to do, it would have failed before it started.
Yeah, same here. Like I would have just done like how most people do it, and they just do it through their phone and just kind of wing it from there. Like, well, that's as good as it's gonna get. It doesn't let me do any better.
Yeah, and then from you reaching out, and you're basically been hitting the ground with just cold calling. I'm air quoting cold calling, but some of our guests that have been on to get them on to sponsors,
Yeah,
to existing sponsors, and then also my wife for bombarding every social media platform with our podcast, which has been a massive help.
yeah, no kidding. Thank you very much for all that you've done. I know that could have been
Like, we get, just the other day we were answering questions. We're getting people from, I think the guy was from India, and he was
yeah,
asking.
I saw that.
He's like, hey, I'm an engineer, looking for jobs. Can you guys like point me in the right direction? Well, can you guys hire me? And we're like, hey, no, we're a podcast platform.
Yeah, man.
I said we work in the field, but we're
That's
not
kind of like a conflict of interest. I can't have that kind of pull with you, for-
yeah. But he was
Yeah.
like, well, can you point out some different companies that I could work for and this and that? So I pointed them out. I think it was 5 or 6 different aerospace.
Nice.
I won't name them right now because
Yeah.
I don't know if we can. But
Right.
and got a thumbs up and a thank you.
That's pretty
So-
cool.
And that's happened more than once.
Yeah, no, it's I've seen a few of those questions roll across, and of course, I don't have experience in the aviation field, but it's cool to see people reaching out and being like, "Hey, I've moved to this area. Do you know of a company that I can go to for this?" Or, it's
And
it's cool to see that camaraderie and that together, like that togetherness within the industry of just trying to help each other out. I think that's really cool.
right,
Yeah.
and I love that people respect our opinion enough to say, "Hey, can you point me in the right direction?"
Yeah.
I'd be more than glad to. You know,
And that's really what this is all about. Is just to highlight you guys for all the jobs and hard work that you guys do, and then for all you guys who are looking to do it or looking to improve yourself, we'll give you the means and ability to do so.
yeah. I mean, we'll give you all the information we can. Basically, learn from our mistakes. Right?
Yeah.
We got in. I went into aviation blind. I know Six did when he joined the military.
Oh yeah,
I knew nothing about aviation maintenance before I went to school for it, and so we just, I'll tell you, here's what the route I went, and here's some of the roadblocks I did. Hindsight being 2020.
Right.
Hey, when you go the same path, when you get to this intersection, instead of going right, go left. You know what I mean?
right.
And you'll make your life so much easier.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. If everybody just keeps themselves and doesn't give anybody advice, and then you just have people making the same mistakes as everybody else, and then we don't progress farther than that.
Yeah,
So-
nobody improves. Nothing. The goal actually would be for us one day is hopefully we can become a prominent voice enough is to actually make aviation maintenance a specialized area of work.
I still cannot believe that you guys are not considered specialized.
It was Nixon.
Yep.
Nixon's the one who made us unspecialized field.
Just doesn't make sense to me.
Nah, not at all. Like auto mechanics are.
Well, I can say that we appreciate you guys, all of us that have flown and done all these things. I consider you guys, geniuses in the field. I think that this is, there's no way that it's not a specialized. So I see you guys, even if the government doesn't.
Well, don't sell yourself short too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like we were talking about you just a second ago, but for experience and expertise as you have, especially with the audio, visual, and live sound, we take that for granted all the time, especially because it's just kind of like a pastime, really. But it had it been up to us, we would have trashed that like
Like I
day
said,
one.
it would have killed itself before it began. Like, well, that
I
was
hear
a
you.
fun experiment. I guess I'll go back to work now.
I hear you. And it's one of those fields that, and your guys is similar, where you don't see it every day. You take it for granted. You don't realize that it's a thing until it's not working. You
So-
know, like everybody right now, and this is of course taped in COVID times. I'm sure everybody right now is itching to go to a show or go to a concert or go to an event of any kind. And right now, those people don't have work.
No.
And believe me, it takes tens or even hundreds or, you know, or more people to make events like that go on. And believe me, we want to make one for you. And we would love to be specialized and protected like that, just as you guys would.
That's why we
So-
got to do that MTV, bring back that MTV's Unplugged. And at least you
Exactly.
can have smaller venues with that, right?
Right.
Put some audio guys back to work. Maybe bring some people in to the crowd in a air quotes safe capacity, or
Right.
whatever you want to take that for.
Mhm.
Right.
And then live stream it.
Yep.
Put it out there. I mean, you could even put it on platforms where, like, hey, if we'll broadcast it on any of the major social media platforms. But the only way you're going to see it is if you're already paying for that service, right?
Right.
Don't make it to where somebody's got to pay extra, because then nobody's going to pay extra to see
Exactly.
it. So,
Right.
and then
Exactly.
and then hopefully those platforms can cut a percentage out to pay the
Mhm.
band, pay the audio, whatever. you know.
Exactly. So yeah, ultimately, I guess what I want to say is I think we have a lot of similarities in what we do, in terms of how people look at our field or lack thereof.
Yep.
So this has been a really cool opportunity for me to kind of pivot also, because studio work, which is what this classifies as, is something I haven't done in years. So it's been fun and an interesting ride, and I'm glad that we're finally able to get here and record in person. And once again, thank you Patreon and everybody for letting us do that.
And hopefully soon, with you guys' continued support, this will be a all the time thing from our own studio.
Right. Hopefully. Looking forward to that.
That would be awesome. Even if we all had to have a recording studio in a location where none of us live and we just have to commute there.
Right.
Right.
Rent a hotel somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
Worth
know?
it though.
Even rent a studio space
Yeah.
in Vegas,
Which-
and then
which-
we just drive out there
Perfect.
once or twice a month and record over the weekend. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So on, I know earlier we were talking about some questions that we've got. So the first one that I'm going to read is from Jenny
Oh, Dignan? Yeah,
Dignan.
Jenny Dignan.
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 Dignan. Jenny Dignan. What is one of the most difficult or hardest things to get across or explain to people outside of the aviation community who you need to work with to get the job done?
Ooh, that's
Good
a good
question.
one. That's a really good one.
Who do you have to explain to somebody outside of the aviation community what the most difficult part of the job is,
No,
essentially?
it's like, well,
Yeah,
like, say,
essentially.
like, what's the hardest thing you have to do? Or what's the hardest thing of you to explain or translate to people who don't even work in the aviation world in order to get the job done?
Oh, the Uber rushed timeline,
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
like the schedule, essentially trying to keep a schedule as much as possible. Like in the corporate realm, your schedule's everything, and that plane lands at 10 o'clock the night before, and it's got another revenue flight at 7 a.m. and you got from that time to that time. Actually, even before that, because the air crew is going to step before that to get it done, and you're trying to make magic happen and get parts and everything you need to in the middle of the night when, guess what, nobody else is working,
Right.
or very few people are working.
Yeah,
Right.
I was actually going to expand a little bit on that. It's the maintenance cycle itself, because a lot of people just think it's the same as like doing an oil change on your car, you know, and it's long story short, it's not. It's,
Right.
No, I mean the maintenance you might come out and you just have a standard maintenance checklist to do, right?
hmm
You go around checking fluid levels, checking all the lights, checking tire pressures, servicing your O2, whatever else. But the paperwork, man, like it might take you, let's say it takes you 2 hours to do the maintenance checklist, right? And most of the maintenance checklists, at least in the corporate side, having an allotted time should take you 2 hours to do this, right? So, and that goes into then when you're filling out your paperwork for billing that you would send to the customer, and they're going to say 3 hours. What happened? Because we don't see anything else in the work order that you found wrong that would take additional time. So what took you an extra hour to do when there was nothing else found wrong, right?
Yeah, so what you got to account.
So your justification of hours and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just it really builds up, but nobody cares. Like, well, if it's broke, you have to fix it. I'm like, yeah, but there's also money drives everything.
Right.
So you have to justify That's probably the hardest part, actually having to justify every step you take along the way.
Mhm.
Oh, I found this wrong. Is it really wrong though? I mean, I brought it up to you. Yeah, but we can MEL it. Okay, I'm telling you, I can fix it now. But if you don't want me to charge anymore now, then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then okay. So then you put it on the MEL and you fix it the next day.
Yep. And I can also explain on the military side of things, like the biggest driver for anything aviation is the guys on the ground, you know? So when they say, we need this now, we need to do this movement, we need this support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they'll think of it as like ordering a pizza. Like it's supposed to be there within 20, 30 minutes or something like that. But as you guys have mentioned, or what MVP has mentioned, you have the maintenance cycle time, you have the actual schedule itself. Like it doesn't just happen on a whim. Yeah, sure, we'll put it on the schedule for you to feel good about yourself, but the actual doing of it is not.
Is different.
It's different.
Well, think about some shops, right? Say some union shops, right? There's only certain people that are allowed to move an airplane.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got my maintenance cycle done, but I got the follow-on checks to do, which include an engine run. So I need that moved out to the hush house or the run pad or whatever else.
Right.
Well, if the union shop tow crew, well, it's almost lunchtime. Okay, can you just move it out there real quick? Nope, we'll see you in an hour. And you're like, so you're just sitting there for an hour waiting on something, waiting on them to come back and then move it out there. And then for that whole time, at least on the corporate side, you're still billing to the aircraft. But then that customer is going to go, why? Why did it take so long? Well, and how do you justify that, right?
Yeah.
How do you and you have to justify every step of the way. And that's just the hardest thing, is trying to prove your existence is worthwhile.
Right.
Yeah.
When
No, and
it's not up to you.
Yeah, and I can relate to that in my field too, because a lot of the work that I've done is casino work, and they're wondering why it's taken us so long to get set up for a band. And of course, we're doing this in little to no time already. But the casino that I'm thinking of in particular, they, in order to save on labor and stuff, they're supposed to set up the stage, like the actual physical
The actual
platform
structure itself.
right? The actual
Okay.
structure for the stage, and of course, it's in a ballroom, so it's in a place where a stage really isn't supposed to be, anyways. But casinos use ballrooms for shows all the time, but it's not a natural place for a stage to be. So we'll get there and we'll start setup, but they haven't built the stage yet, and
Oh my God.
we need that to be there in order for us to continue doing our stuff, to make our cable runs that have to go across the stage, because we don't want them to set stuff onto our cables and break our
And
cables.
crush them, yeah. Fiber
Yeah.
lines, everything.
Whether they're fiber lines or whether they're, feeder, like 2-watt, just
Okay,
straight
yeah,
copper
yeah.
carrying
Mhm.
power, and you're setting a metal stage on it. Like
Because you know the crew setting the stage, they're not going to care what's
No.
laying on the ground. They're just going to sit it there because, let's face it,
right. So then all of a sudden it's a contest with the casino of like, well, you guys were supposed to be set up at this time, and we're like, yeah, and you were supposed to have the stage set up 4 hours ago. So
Right.
like
Yeah,
we
this-
can only do so much.
you only started setting up the stage when we showed up, which we had to wait on you, but I'm not sitting here not charging you. I showed up on site at the already previously specified time.
Right.
I'm charging.
Or also like, oh, we are in a ballroom that separates into 9 different rooms. Well, this half of the room is being used, but I have a huge PA that I have to hang right there, and I can't do that until that event's done 12 hours from now. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, awesome, glad I brought a whole crew of 30 people to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No kidding.
So
right?
guess you're getting charged extra, because I can't just let these guys go home. You
Yeah.
know? So
But that's the same thing, right? So you have like in aviation, you have a bird go down somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, let me get a road crew together and we'll make it down there. And then, you're being told by the customer, we'll have it staged inside a hangar and whatever. So when you show up, you can get right to work,
Mhm.
But then you get down there and it's buried 9 planes deep in the back of the ramp because the ground guys just heard it was broke. So like, whatever, I'm getting it out of the way. Doesn't,
Right.
because they're not the ones who are fixing it.
Right.
And you get it there and it's like snowing too, right? It's always the
Right.
perfect storm. It's always snowing middle of winter. And you're like, can you get that in the hangar for me? And they're like, no, that's a lot of plane movement.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
no,
but-
actually, I can't.
But
Right.
yeah, I can't, I'm also not going to do an engine change in a blizzard outside. So
Right.
it's got to, so then, it turns in that, and then you have to call the customer. Hey, it's going to be delayed. I'm going to come back tomorrow. They're, the local FBO ground people aren't willing to move the plane tonight. And then you just click, sit back, and then the customer calls and says, I'll have your ass if you guys ever want paid or money from us again, you'll find a way to get my plane in the hangar ASAP. And so next thing you know, they're going out there, but it's just all that delayed time.
Yeah.
Right? Everything just adds up. And that's probably the hardest thing because they think you just show up and
it works and it
works.
happens.
Yeah, and it happens. Like why can't you get that done in the allotted time?
You know, I think that's a big problem, especially with like senior management or whatnot.
Yeah.
With any kind of industry, they just feel like I said it so it should be.
Well, because all they're looking at it from is a money aspect.
Right.
All they see is dollars and signs. Right. They may have been out on the floor with like you at one time, but they've progressed their careers to the point of getting in management. But now all they see is dollar signs.
Right.
And they don't care, even though they know the issues that go with it. They are choosing to block those out of memory and see the dollar sign amount only. And as like I said before, the dollar drives everything. Yeah. Everything.
Or they start they gauge things by their old timelines, you know, like, oh, this is how long it used to take me, etc. Like, yeah, man, but that was like how long ago?
Yeah, it was before they invented manuals. So you could just do whatever you wanted to do. I'm limited by the manual now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So in short, keeping schedules and justifying your existence.
Yes.
Existence is pain.
100% yes. So we have another person, Eddie, had a question. He says most of his Q&A questions feel more like normal topics, such as how long have we been, or how long have you guys been in aviation, and how did we meet, and what prompted the podcast?
Ooh, all right. So myself, I've been in the aviation realm for about 15 years now, and I think MVP is about the same, right?
Yeah, I'm at 13.
13. So combined close to 30 years aviation experience. What was the other part of the question?
The other part of the question was how did we meet,
Okay.
and what prompted the podcast?
So MVP and I met through work.
Yep.
Fancy enough. So we both started this position at this company to be like maintenance controllers
Yep.
/ mini
Pro suits
program managers
/ admin assistant /
everything
/ time card keeping, record keeping,
right.
you name it.
That should just be a job title A/ because that's all we do. Assistant to everything.
I guess the jack of all trades comes into play because even I went back out and was working planes at one point,
Right.
towards the end.
Yep.
Yeah. And then for me and Shoreline, we met, matter of fact, at my daughter's graduation.
Yeah, we met at his daughter's graduation, and I ended up starting to date his daughter after that. And got close after that, and we were talking like MVP said about 4 or 5 months ago, and we decided to do it.
And then here we are.
Yeah, and then I met Shoreline through 6.
Yep.
I mean, maybe we would have dated first, but he met his girlfriend before me,
no.
so
He lost his opportunity.
It's all good though. I mean,
well, we'll see.
you missed 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Exactly. The day is still young.
So the other part of the question was like, what prompted us to start the podcast,
Yes.
right? Ooh, MVP, you want to lead hit on that one?
Well, you had approached me and said, "Hey, man, what are we doing? Like, let's expand our horizons here. Like, we're one shot in life here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's." And he's like, "Hey, I've been looking into it," and said, "I don't see really a lot of aviation podcasts." I said, "Well, yeah, the ones that are the minimal ones that are there are all pilot based.
Yeah.
Right? And who cares?"
Right. Well, I mean, that's
No, I mean it's still good information if you're a pilot, of which none of us are.
Mhm.
But then we said, well, let's talk about the maintainer side of life. Like we would swap stories from like our past, from deployments, laugh a lot about it, gripe and complain about it when shit hit the fan. And we're like, well, we have these conversations all day long at work anyways. Why don't we just record it and let other people listen to it?
right.
Exactly.
And that's just kind of how it spawned.
And I think another prompt was when MVP and I were working in that maintenance control A/ everything position. Tex and Mex will come see us over their own supervision, and they'll just start feelings dumping. Like, oh, let me tell you about my day. Let me tell you how this went, or let me explain how this project's going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then it would be routine for them to just show up, and they were like, okay, your therapy starts now.
And that's exactly what it was, therapy, right? We called it, I mean, adding to that / job title, therapist,
Yeah.
Winner, because the different shops, no matter what it was, their personnel would come to us with problems or concerns or whatever over their own management, right?
Yeah.
And we couldn't control some of the stuff we couldn't control, but we could guide them and say, here's how I would approach that situation or whatever else. And 9 times out of 10, they would do what we said over their own management because we had built that trust with them.
Right.
Like if they came to us like, hey, man, I messed up, we wouldn't bury them right away. We were like, oh, your ass is mine. You know,
Right.
we'd be like, all right, can we fix it right away? Yeah, cool. Let's fix it. And nobody ever has to know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they were like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
we can do that. Or if it was something that, hey, people are going to know about, it's like, cool, don't worry. They're going to come to me first as the controller and ask what the hell happened. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and so they would never get buried. And so we built that trust in that relationship, and they would come to us for everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then so we took all those ideas and we're like, you know what? Like what MVP said, like there's no aviation maintenance podcast. Matter of fact, before any of this, I think the only ones here who actually listened to podcasts was MVP and Shoreline. I
Probably.
didn't
Yeah.
listen to
And
it.
I only started listening to podcasts. It's got to be just a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very recently.
Yeah.
And when you consider how long podcasts, now that I'm into podcasts and listen to podcasts, and you're like, man, some have been going since I was in high school,
Right.
Right.
you know, and you're
Right.
like, I didn't realize that was even a thing back then. But
For the longest, I thought podcast was just like an audiobook, you know? Like
Right.
it's just,
actually, yeah.
that's what I thought it was.
somebody recorded themselves reading The Great Gatsby, you know?
Right. Exactly.
And there's some people that do that. Like they
Yeah.
do like role playing podcasts. Like they'll just have like a story mapped out and then tune in next week to hear what we do next. you
Yeah,
know?
there's actually one that I listened to that they reenact ancient Greek mythology stories.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
So there's like 4 different people on there, and they do all the voices.
Mhm.
But yeah, they'll do like bits from the Iliad and the Odyssey, and they'll
That's
do
cool.
they'll do some mythological stories and
That's cool.
ramp it up.
Yeah, some of my favorites are the ones that do they'll be playing D&D and they will they'll record it and then they'll add sound effects and stuff to it. So it'll like tell this
Oh.
whole story of their entire D&D campaign.
That's cool.
Neat. So they'll,
Oh,
like,
like,
they'll
that's
have
awesome.
swords clashing, explosions. Yeah,
That's
so
dope.
that is pretty
That's
cool.
pretty dope.
Actually,
Yeah.
And then when you even as far as like the veteran side of the house for anything, the most you ever hear is grunts or special forces or like the deep intel guys, you know?
yeah. It's
So
all the high speed guys, right?
Yeah, so like you never hear about like the grunge bottom, or you never hear about the guys who have to like really wade their way
Mhm.
in trash to make all the cool grunt stuff or all the cool.
Right. So you hear the operators, right? And you hear them, like you'll hear these stories from Vietnam. Man, we were deep in the jungle and Charlie was everywhere, and we had a cobra come overhead. 2 cobras come overhead, just happenstance, and they saw our struggle, and they decimated Charlie and saved us all. We all went home that day because most of us thought we weren't going to make it home.
Right.
So you hear about the running and gunning in the jungle to the overhead cobras spraying hate down from up above,
Yep.
but you don't hear about the guy who made that cobra go.
Exactly.
That cobra could have shit out an engine yesterday from a stray bullet or a rocket or something, but
Right.
it's in the air right now. How did it get there? You don't
Mhm.
hear about those guys' stories from really any war or anything really. I mean, you
Right.
don't. There's no
Yeah.
glory stories from that because
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And, it's a shame because there's tons out there, you know?
Yeah.
there are.
and we're sure like there's all kinds of specialists and technicians out there who just have all kinds of stories like we would never even believe happen. You know?
Yeah. And if any of you listeners have any of those stories, whether you are in aviation or a different industry altogether, like we would love to hear it. We'd love to share your story.
Yeah, most def.
I mean, I've been in places where you were launching a bird and you hear that high pitched crack whistle go over your head, so you know that was a bullet that was close enough for you to hear,
Right.
but you're just kind of like, oh, well, I got to finish this and get this thing up in the air so it can do whatever.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right.
Crazy.
I know. So that's that, and we are here today parodying our shitty lifestyle and celebrating you all for all the hard work that you do.
Yep,
do.
talking about our poor life choices.
Celebrating the shit together. Right.
Well, it's been nice also because this is kind of a therapy for us. You
Oh,
know?
yeah, most definitely.
We definitely enjoy doing this. So
It's fun. Well, talking about it, and it brings up stories that you might have forgotten otherwise, right? Suppressed memories. And it brings it out, and you're like, you know what? Looking back, that was a terrible time, but I'm laughing about it now.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes that's what saves people's sanity, really.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes the only thing you can do is just make fun of a trash situation. Like there's no way around it. You just have to do it. And how to keep yourself from
well,
going ham.
and think about it. Like some of the stuff we laugh at, right? Especially from like stories that were deployed, and people listen to it and they go, their faces are all kind of crooked and like horrified. Like, why are you laughing about that? That sounds terrible. And you're like, it was terrible. Ha, 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 ha. You know, but that's all you can do because it was a terrible. The only thing you can do is laugh about it.
You made
Yeah.
it through, and
You
it's
ma-
a
yeah.
story that you can tell now. You know?
Yeah, that's the only, I mean, there's no sense in holding on to a terrible feeling. I might as well laugh and make the best of it. That's
Yeah.
why you see in like hearing a lot of the stories, or you hear like a lot of those high speed guys talking, and they're like, "Yeah, I lost a finger that day," or you know, I got hit with a bunch of shrapnel and it took out half my leg, and they're laughing about it. And you're like, why the hell would anybody laugh? And they're like, because what am I going to do now?
Exactly.
It's water under the bridge. I made it out alive, so
Right.
laughter's the best medicine.
It is. It is. Cool. So, closing thoughts, you guys.
Thanks again for all your support, allowing us to meet face to face using the good mics, and just being able to continue to do this. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope we can do more face to face in the future because it is super nice to look at both of you
Yeah.
right now and actually feed off your facial expressions instead of just laughter alone.
Just kind of guess.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like one of
I hope they're
the
laughing.
Hoping that you're funny.
Yeah.
that's kind of one of like the secrets that we've been using is Shoreline will have his video up, and that's how we would kind of gauge our energies just by how much he's laughing.
And if you're wondering why Six and I don't have our video up, is because it kills the absolute shit out of my bandwidth for Wi-Fi. So if I want to make it as best as possible, I gotta kill all other sources of drain on the Wi-Fi.
Yelling at your kids, get off Fortnite.
Get off Fortnite.
But if they're off Fortnite, then they're gonna bug the hell out of me. And
Exactly.
so,
It's a lose-lose.
or bang
Or
on
as we figured out, bang on a drum
Yeah.
set in the middle of us recording. That
Yeah.
was hilarious.
Yep. Can you guys please get off Fortnite today so I can have all the Wi-Fi for me?
Sure thing, Dad. Let me just go.
And
Let me go practice System of a Down real quick.
Like Animal from the Muppets. Animal. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, that was a fun one.
That was great.
Like, I'll be right back. And if it sounds like children screaming and murder, it's definitely not.
That's actually me just crying in the background. Why?
And 6.
Oh man, MVP hit the nail on the head. Thank you guys so much for all your support and allowing us to keep on making these episodes, keeping Shoreline to want to keep helping us make these episodes.
Thank
And
God. Because, again, to do it on our own, that's not going to
Now,
happen.
this may sound really creepy to you guys, but these new mics are the shite.
Yes.
It's freaking legit, and it's like this new car smell, and like I'm have to be like almost butt up to the mic, and I smell the new car smell every time. Like, smells like success.
Yes.
It does smell like success. And it sounds
does.
like success.
Sounds like success, right? Once again, thank you guys so much, and continue to support us. For those guys on Patreon, please continue. For those of you who are listening now, please support us on Patreon, and check out our merch at cancelformaintenance.com. Check out our new sponsor at
Please check out our new sponsor.
at Rockwell Time for all your watch and sunglass and snowboarding needs, or a good gift for the holidays for your veteran friends, your EMT nurses, doctors, firefighters, etc. Use code CX4MX for 20% off your purchase.
Yep, that's Charlie X-Ray, the number 4, Mike X-Ray.
Perfect. And once again, thank you guys. And we will see you soon. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everybody.
holidays. Yep.